Hey, this is Leif Ganford. I played the cash register thief in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldabar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek Podcast.
Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek Podcast.
Hey, it's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Plo Koon in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Everything Geek, the podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me are co-hosts Lawron, Gab,
Hello.
and Adam. And also joining us today is a very special guest. We have voice actor James Arnold Taylor, who is best known for providing the voices of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Plo Koon, Rako, Hardeen, and Osi Sobeck in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi in numerous other Star Wars projects including Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Clone Wars micro-series, and Star Wars Battlefront II, Johnny Test in Johnny Test, Harry Osborn in The Spectacular Spider-Man, Ratchet in Ratchet Clank since Ratchet Clank going Commando, Peter Parker / Spider-Man in Lego Marvel Superheroes and several Spider-Man video games, Nathaniel Tryon in Young Justice, George Avocados in Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, Green Arrow in Batman the Brave and the Bold, young Emmett Brown in Back to the Future the game, Fishlegs in the How to Train Your Dragon video game, The Fallen in the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen video game, Tidus in the Final Fantasy video games, Prince Charming in the Shrek video games, Leonardo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game and TMNT, voice of Willy Wonka in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory video game, Jack Mason 003 in the James Bond Everything or Nothing video game.
I was actually also, in that game, I was Christopher Walken's character, Max Doran.
Nice.
Doran, I should say. So I wasn't credited, but I did all of Christopher Walken's lines in the game.
Very nice, didn't know that. That's really cool. Quentin Beck / Mysterio in the Spider-Man 2 video game, and Pippin in the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring video game, Berks in Bionicle, the Legend Reborn, and the current voice of Fred Flintstone. And I almost said it all completely without being interrupted, but I was interrupted. And yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, well, yeah, I was told I couldn't do it, but I was pretty close. Yeah.
You did well.
Thank you very much, James. So it's a pleasure to have you join us on the podcast. I mean, you've been in so much, even if you're a bit embarrassed by it.
No, it's great. It's a blessing to do it all. I'm the luckiest man in the world being a voice actor. So I love what I do, and I love that there are people that are interested in what voice actors do and knowing more about it. So
yeah, that's great, definitely. And voice acting compared to on-camera acting is, kind of underappreciated in comparison, but it's just as important for me. Like, I enjoy voice acting as much as I do seeing on-camera actors. Like, I think it's a great craft. It's great how, more voice actors are becoming well known now. Like, not so long ago, they wouldn't have been as well known as on-camera actors. Like, there's a certain quality of, only being behind the microphone. Like, you don't get recognized in public so often. That's got to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, if I'm at a convention, those are the times where I get to be treated like a rock star and everybody stops you and asks you for an autograph or a picture or something, which is very nice. If I host Star Wars weekends or Star Wars Celebration, it's always good to be recognized at those points, but then I can go home and have dinner with my family and nobody's asking for my autograph. So it is a great split of both worlds. And also being a voice actor, you get to be so many different characters. People could see, wow, it's a wide range of characters that you get to be. Being 5'4" and 115 pounds, looking more like Barney Rubble, getting to be the voice of Fred Flintstone. It's a great honor.
Definitely, that's great. So getting right into the questions, James, my first question for you is, how did you decide you wanted to become a voice actor?
Well, ever since I was about 4 years old, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I'm sure people have heard me say it before, but it's really true. I realized quickly that entertainment was just something I was naturally born to slip into and fall into. I enjoyed entertaining. I enjoyed watching movies and listening to old radio plays. And there was something about the voice work that I think stuck out more so than even on camera acting or being in front of a camera, being in front of a crowd. I liked the fact that you could become all these different characters. And I had the ability at a very young age to manipulate my voice, and I knew it. So I would use it in any way I could. And so from 4 years old on, I just studied and studied. And then when I was 16 years old, I got into stand-up comedy, and I did a lot of voices in that. And then from 17, I got into radio. And radio was a natural fit for anybody that wants to be into voice acting or wants to know more about voice and how to work equipment and microphones and headphones and things. So I started doing that, and then it was a natural progression to voiceover by getting my demo tapes out there. Back then, it was all on tape. Tells you how old I am. There was no digital. And so I got my stuff out there and got an agent and moved to Los Angeles from my hometown of Santa Barbara, which is about 90 minutes north of LA. And the rest is, as we say, history. But it was a great thing to be able to, know what I wanted to do at a young age and pursue it. I think that it's really important for people to know what they want to do in their dreams and their goals. And of course, I wrote a book about that too, but called JAT 365, which is James Arnold Taylor 365 days out of the year, trying to get people excited about what their dreams are. So, I think that it's a good thing, and I'm proof positive that you can pursue a goal and a dream and actually succeed at it.
Definitely, I completely agree. My second question, how does it feel to be considered the voice double for Ewan McGregor, having voiced Obi-Wan Kenobi in so many Star Wars projects?
Yeah, it's interesting. With the whole job of Obi-Wan, it started as a voice double for Ewan while they were still making the movies, and we would do the video games and such. And then once we did the micro series turned into the Clone Wars years later. And once we hit the Clone Wars TV series that we all now are so familiar with, that was where Dave Filoni, our director, and George Lucas really gave us the ability to take the characters and make them our own, and not so much a voice double for him anymore, but a version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so that's been the greatest part of it, is getting to take that character and make it my own. But it's been, almost 13 years now, and still voicing Obi-Wan whenever Lucasfilm or now Disney needs him is a great honor.
That's great, definitely. My third question, what were some of your favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi moments in Star Wars The Clone Wars?
We had so many great years of working together. We were really a family on the show, and we still are. I mean, I still talk to my castmates almost daily. There's not a day that goes by that we're not talking about each other, certainly talking about working together on projects or running into each other in other studios. But I think some of my favorite moments are just literally the times in the studios with all my friends there. Some of my most fond moments would be some of the last sessions I had with Matt Lanter, because we didn't know they were our last sessions. We didn't know the show was going to end. So to look back now fondly on the fact that we finally were getting these ones, which are now online. And I thought it was really cool that StarWars.com released those episodes. That was a 4-part arc that was going to be made. They did it all just as the animatics, you know, the sketch drawings, sense of what it was going to be like. Really cool. But those moments with everybody together, that was the greatest part, was that we recorded that as a cast. So we were all always together. So as far as the shows itself, I loved the arcs with Satine, with the Duchess Satine, and Anna Graves, who is just a tremendous voice actress. It was great fun to do those scenes. Very powerful stuff too. And Sam Witwer, working with Sam, you know, I'm very spoiled. I get to work with the greatest voice actors and just some of the most fantastic on-camera actors in the business. So that show was it was a dream job. So
that's great.
So,
my next question, how did it feel to return as the voice of Obi-Wan in the new Star Wars Rebels animated series, and have you been watching the show?
Yeah, the show, it was really great. It was great I didn't know when I did it that it was going to be the first episode, and I thought that was really pretty cool, and that it would have such a amazing resonance for people. You know, I mean, the fact that Obi-Wan was in that one, it gave people that were watching, that were wondering if the show was going to be Star Wars worthy or what have you, you know, that it was like, it showed people that, yeah, this is this, I don't know, it was a very cool scene, a very emotional scene. I did it all alone. I don't even think the cast knew that I was coming in. So that was kind of cool to go in and do it all. And I was just in a studio with Vanessa Marshall 2 days ago, and we were talking about Rebels and stuff. And so it's really getting its own following and its own group of people excited about it. And I think that's very cool. And hopefully they'll have old Obi-Wan on it again. So.
It's always great to hear you return as Obi-Wan, so I'd be up for another appearance. And have you been watching the show so far?
Yeah, I've seen several of them. I have not seen the last one that came out, but been keeping up with it as much as I can. And of course got to become friends with most of the cast at Star Wars weekends this last year that I got to host out in Florida at Disney World. And so some amazing actors on that show. So it's a very different show than Clone Wars, but I think it's still telling the story of Star Wars. And of course, having Dave Filoni on it, it's a really important part of the whole thing, because Dave knows the mind of George Lucas possibly better than just about anybody at this point, because he spent so much time with him. And really, you know, the thing to remember for people is that Clone Wars was the last true George Lucas Star Wars, and I think that's a really neat thing. So it's cool that Dave has got such a hand in Rebels as well.
Definitely, I agree. I mean, it's really important, you know. It's really great that, you know, with the Clone Wars, it was Lucas's last Star Wars story, essentially. I think that's a really great way to put it.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. My next question, what do you find are the similarities and differences voicing for TV shows versus video games?
Yeah, well, you know, if people ever get a chance to go online to jamesarnoldtaylor.com and look at my stage show, you can watch it all for free there. It's on my YouTube channel as well. It's called Talking to Myself. And you can see the hour-long version I did at Star Wars Celebration last time I hosted. I'll be doing it again this time when I host in April of 2015, but I also do a half-hour version of the show called Obi-Wan and Beyond every year at Disney Star Wars Weekends. And in that, I bring that up because in that I do a little bit in the show where I talk about the differences between voicing a video game and an animated show. So when you do a TV show, you're usually, like I mentioned, with the cast, you're all together and you're recording together. When you do a video game, you're alone and the director just gives you lines to react to. But it's also the most, I would say it's the most strenuous work you can do as a voice actor for your video games, because there's so much shouting and dying and yelling and screaming and, you know, jumping and falling and getting hit and fighting. And TV shows certainly have their share of that from time to time, especially if you're doing an action one. But video games are constantly that. And so they're the most strenuous. So you really, like, for example, if I'm going to do a video game, I'll know that it'll be at the end of the week. So I will schedule my video game sessions for the end of the week because I don't want to strain my voice, and at least I'll have the weekend to kind of recoup my voice. But it's a big difference. They just work differently too. It's like doing a movie versus a TV show. There's just a different feel on the set. It's recorded differently. It looks differently, so they sound maybe a little differently. They work differently. Your acting beats change a little here and there because for video games, things have to fit into specific amounts of time, or they have to. It used to be that, especially when we did Final Fantasy and such, there were samples, the voice audio was just samples and they could only fit in so much time. And plus we also had to we had to match what was already done in the Japanese, but it's a completely different language, obviously. And the way we express ourselves are completely different. So Tidus in Final Fantasy X, getting a battle hit in Japanese might be, hey, but in American it might be, yeah. Or no, whoa. And so it's very different. And you have to still make everything fit within those time frames, and you have to make sure that it makes sense to the folks that they're directing you that are from Japan that don't necessarily speak our language. So always a different point of view. A certain point of view is certainly different when you're doing a TV show versus a video game. But they're both great fun to do.
That's great. My next question. In your career, you're well known for being a voice double for many movie stars. Which of your voice impersonations are you most proud of that you have done?
That's a great question. I would have to say one of the ones you mentioned so kindly in my intro, I got to do Christopher Lloyd for the Back to the Future game, and it was interesting. It was one of those things where everybody assumed I was going to do Michael J. Fox in the game because I had done Michael's doubling for so many years, but A.J. Locascio, the young man that came in and did him in the game, truly was amazing in his work, and I was at the point where I was like, I really had wanted to do Doc. I wanted to do Doc Brown's voice. And so getting to do a young version of Christopher Lloyd as one of my favorite characters in movies was really a great honor. So I think that one I was really proud of what we came up with because he was, Christopher Lloyd's got this great kind of, raspy sound, and it's an older voice. And then to take that and to turn it into a 17, 18-year-old kid, I had to keep just little parts of it that sounded like him, but then I gave it just a little bit of Michael J. Fox in there, and so it moved all over the place. Marty, Marty, you made it, if it was old Doc, but it was Marty, you made it, if it was young Doc. So you just, you got to mess with it a little bit more. I was really happy to do that, proud of that. I love voice doubling for Johnny Depp, and I've had the privilege of working with him on projects before in person, and what a neat guy. So that was cool. But, again, Christopher Walken is fun. It's fun doing, so many different people. Now, one thing that I do quite a bit of right now is Jay Baruchel. You had mentioned How to Train Your Dragon. So I did Fishlegs for the video games, but I've also done Hiccup. So I'm the official voice of Hiccup when Jay Baruchel is not Hiccup. But I'm also Fishlegs in it for Christopher Mintz-Plasse when he's not available. So, Fishlegs, Hiccup, Hiccup's right here, and it's Jay Baruchel's voice. So I've been doing a lot of his, and that's a lot of fun because it's just very different. And then Fishlegs is right in there, and it's Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Oh, yeah, that's a +10 dragon. That's really awesome. So, it's they're both fun voices to do, and I get to do them both quite a bit for the TV show and such. But always a challenge being somebody else.
No, it's actually funny you should touch up on that, because when I was looking, I'm to your Facebook page and I follow you on Twitter, it's funny because I saw that banner that you have with all of those characters, and I remember seeing Hiccup on it, and I thought I was pretty funny. And I did, of course, know I will admit, I have seen your stage show myself in person. I'll let you try and figure out where I saw it because I'm not giving any hints. But one thing that I did think of, because obviously I knew you can impersonate Jay Baruchel, but I still thought it was interesting seeing Hiccup on this. So I actually had been thinking of asking where you had voiced Hiccup before, and I have to say, I don't think we need Jay or Christopher on the podcast. We can just get you instead.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, all the video games, for the most part, are me. For the How to Train Your Dragon stuff, certainly the How to Train Your Dragon 2, that'll be me. Jay isn't usually, he's a very busy guy, and he lives in Canada, and so they bring him in for the TV show, but I do all of his scratch stuff. So I record it all before he does, And I guess as the story goes, they played him some stuff that was me, and he didn't know that it was me. He thought it was him. So I thought that was a pretty good sign that I did all right.
That would be a pretty good sign. Now, if just I knew what episodes you worked on, then I'd be able to go back to watching the TV show episodes. I'm like, hey, that's not Jay, that's James. Yeah, I'll just be watching the episodes and listening so hard, and I'm like, is that James or is it Jay? I'll probably drive myself insane. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
But, so yeah, moving on to my last question, James. Do you have any upcoming voice acting roles or other projects you would like to talk about? Of course, there's your stage show, Talking to Myself, which you mentioned, and you said you'd be doing it again at Celebration Anaheim in April 2015. Have you got any other appearances for it as well coming up?
Yeah, I just did the show at St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis, which was great to do for the families and the children there. And I highly recommend people follow St. Jude and donate to St. Jude. It's a wonderful organization. It was great to do my show there. And I will be, I'm going to be doing it in Atlanta in January and March, but I'm not certain on all the dates and stuff yet, but people can certainly watch me on Twitter is usually the place where you'll see all that stuff. I'll post dates and such, but also, Celebration in April 16th through the 19th. I'll be hosting the main stage there, which is great fun. Be interviewing some cool folks in the world of Star Wars and then doing my stage show. But as far as other projects, that's the other funny thing about being a voice actor, especially involved in things like Star Wars and Marvel games and such, is that you rarely get to actually talk about the things you're working on because there's so many non-disclosure agreements. So not until they're out. But we have, of course, the Ratchet and Clank movie is coming out in 2015, and I'm very excited about that. I hope people will go and see that. Plus, we're in the process of redoing the first game, which I think that was announced pretty recently. And so that was the only game that my voice was not in, but we are redoing it now, and my voice will be in it.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. They can go back and say I've voiced in them all now.
Yeah, which is, I think, a good 15 or 16 that I've done as Ratchet. So I'm really looking forward to the movie coming out. I think that'll open it up to a whole other audience of people. It's a great movie. It's a great story, and it's been fun. So that's coming up. Some other things that I can't wait to talk about, but they're not public yet. I can't talk about them yet, but when I do, well, I'll just have to make sure that we let you all know that. But, let's see, also on Magneto and Silver Surfer and Iceman in some of the new Marvel games that are coming out. And those are very cool. It's great to be Magneto and have that big voice. Humans, you shall perish. He's just a great character and very different for me to play that. So it's been great fun. But there's always good stuff coming up. There's always new things. But again, I wish I could talk about more of them.
So I'll definitely be sure to keep an eye out for all of those. So thank you very much, James, for answering all of my questions. I'll let my co-host Lawron ask his now. He lives in Atlanta, so you can tell him he must go see a stage show.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, we just moved to Atlanta, ironically, and you said that you might be having a show here in January. You said?
Yeah, January, and then I think in March. So there's
awesome.
I believe in March there's going to be a big voiceover convention, going on. And again, I'll post that information as I get more. But I will be doing my show there. So yeah, definitely.
Well, that's great. My brother's birthday is in March, and mine's is in January, and we love your work. So
look at that. Oh well, thanks so much. That's very kind.
Well, my first question for you, James, is you've been a part of so many projects. I mean, as Ruari was listing before the show started, we were shocked with just everything. But, I mean, what's been your favorite project to work on in your career, and why?
It is one of those things where, like, people will ask me often, like, what's your favorite voice? And I always try to say that whichever voice I'm doing at the time is the one that's my favorite. And with projects, though, it's a little tougher to say that because some you definitely love and others you kind of go, okay, looking at the clock waiting for it to end. But I have been just, again, so blessed to work on all these great things and some of the biggest franchises in the world, from Transformers to Star Wars to Jurassic Park or Back to the Future. I mean, it's really cool. I would have to say that the world of Star Wars has certainly been very kind to me, and it's one of the places I hold the most dear. And Obi-Wan is certainly that character as well. So because of the opportunities that it's brought in my career and such too, I'd say that it's probably my all-time favorite, just because of getting to meet so many wonderful people too, and getting to do so many great things. I have a studio here in Burbank, California now with J.C. Reifenberg, and J.C. is a very talented young filmmaker who made a fan film, which you can see online, called Hughes the Force. Came out a little while ago, and in that I play Obi-Wan Kenobi, suited up in costume. I get to play him. And so JC and I have partnered up, and we've started a small production company, and he's got a great show called The Comlink that people can check out. It's all Star Wars stuff on a YouTube channel. Just go to the Comlink, search that. But so he and I are working on projects now, but I look at this and I go, this is all due to Star Wars. So I have to say, it's a very long answer for you, but Star Wars has brought so many wonderful opportunities. So I guess Clone Wars would really be my most favorite. And again, just because of the amazing actors that I got to work with too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's completely understandable. I mean, you devoted a lot of time into the Clone Wars, as we all know. But on the subject of Clone Wars, which season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars is your favorite, and why?
Man, that's another good one. It's tough because I love season 2, because season 2 is when I think everybody really realized that this show was the real deal, and that it was really good entertainment, and it was well written and amazing production, and that it wasn't just a cartoon, and it wasn't trying to be something that it get on the Star Wars bandwagon. It was really telling the story of Star Wars. So that holds a really dear spot in my heart. But I also loved these the lost missions, they called it, that are on Netflix, that you can see on Netflix as season 6. There's some really great stuff there. I wish that we could have seen all of it produced, but and season 5, yeah, boy, it's hard.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one for me to answer as well. I love the Clone Wars, and when season 6 came on Netflix, I was that person that was waiting right then and there. But
yeah, that's great.
My next question: what was it like getting to work with such a close knit family of voice actors in the Clone Wars? And are there any behind the scenes moments you'd like to share?
Oh man, so many. And as I mentioned, we really were a family, and as you mentioned there too, it's it's one of those things where we all get together. It's like the holidays right now, so it's like that. You get to see everybody, and it's like, oh, good, it's good to see Matt. Matt's been out shooting some TV show. Let's talk to him. And oh, look, it's Ashley, and she's got her universe going, and she's been in London, with that. Let's talk about that. Or Catherine Tabor. It's like, oh my gosh, you're doing so many great characters in these video games and stuff. And what's going on? And we just would catch up. D. Bradley Baker, an amazing, amazing actor and performer. And it was just always like Christmas. It was just getting together. And then, Dave would come into the room and give us the story for the day. Because when we would get the scripts, I've said this many times before, we'd get the scripts as we got into the room. So we didn't get a chance to read them beforehand. It was also top secret. So, you go into a session and spoiler alert, if anybody's listening that hasn't seen all of Star Wars. If you haven't seen season 5, turn it down. When the Duchess Satine finds her end there at the hand of Darth Maul, we didn't know that going in. When I became Rako Hardeen, I walked into the studio that day, and I had a massive allergy attack, and my voice was pretty much shot. And so all the stuff you hear, it really worked out great for Hardeen, because he had this great deep kind of voice. And so for him, it worked great. But Obi-Wan Kenobi was like, sounded like John Hurt as Professor Broom in Hellboy, who I've voice doubled for. It just, because I was so hoarse. So we had to go back in the next week, and I had to re-record all of Obi-Wan's lines. So it's, stuff like that's a little behind the scenes stuff where you watch that and you think, oh, it's just a show. It's just, I'm sure they just ran all that together. It's like, no, there was always little bits and pieces going on there. And, getting to work with people like Jon Favreau, or you've got, finding out that Liam Neeson's going to perform as Qui-Gon. I mean, those moments are really unique and wonderful, and they just made the show so much more fun to be involved in, but let alone the fact that it's Star Wars. So yeah, it was always a wonderful experience.
Awesome. And can you elaborate on some of the more common difficulties most voice actors face, and how you choose to personally overcome them?
Well, I think that for voice actors, obviously our biggest goal is not getting sick, trying to avoid the cold.
I can imagine.
So you I'd like to make the fist bump like Howie Mandel does, the official way to greet people. Or like in Japan, I think they got something with the bow, because then you're not making contact. It's just one of those things where you have to take care of your voice. I had been exposed to black mold, which affected my voice, gave me massive laryngitis, throat infections and such. And I had to really heal from that. So for me, I take even greater care than most people do with their voice. I only drink room temperature water. I don't drink anything cold. I don't do any alcohol. I don't do any dairy. I don't do any sugar. No processed foods. Very natural, holistic diet. And most of that is so I can keep my range, because, again, most voice actors make their living with one voice. I'm very fortunate to be able to make mine as many people. Usually it's not this voice that I'm talking in right now. Like later today, I'll get on the ISDN line, which is a phone patch line that I do, and Fox will call me up and I'll say, coming up tonight, it's The Simpsons on Sunday Fun Day, and I have to be able to pull that voice out. So, those are the things that we face on a regular basis, of just keeping our voice in shape, keeping our bodies in shape so we can always perform, because in a single day you can go and be 20 different people jumping from studio to studio, as opposed to an on-camera actor who pretty much knows what they're doing in the day. They go in and they play one character and makeup and costume, and that's it. But granted, they have to sit around a lot more than we do, but it's a different world for sure.
Yeah, wow, it sounds like it. That's incredible. Back on the subject of Clone Wars, which is your favorite Clone Wars character?
Oh boy, well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I love Ahsoka Tano. I really do love Ahsoka. I think that it was a great thing, because here, when she starts, when you see the movie, the Clone Wars and stuff, and people are kind of like, oh boy, well, we got a kid Jedi and all this. Like, then you watch this storyline develop over these 6 seasons of this character. And again, the acting of Ashley Eckstein, which is just wonderful. And she brings it so to life. And Ashley's just so dear to me. She's like a sister. And we are so fortunate to get to work together at Disney World every year on Star Wars weekends and such. And so I really just have such a fondness for that character. I was as sad as anybody when I see the ones where she walks off. And again, spoiler alert. So yeah, Ahsoka's probably my favorite Clone Wars character. Favorite ones for me to do, I love doing Obi-Wan. I love Plo Koon. It's just a great honor to get to do Plo Koon. And I love doing things like Osi Sobeck and such too.
Yes, and I've got to say, Plo Koon is one of the coolest voices I've ever heard in voice acting in general. I don't know what's going on there, but it's incredible. From the day I first heard it, it's always been fun to listen to and watch.
Oh, and it's one of those things where, thank you very much for saying that. Dave Filoni brought me in. It was one of the first sessions, and it was the first time I met Matt Lanter, actually, because he was not the original Anakin, and they brought him in, and it was Ashley and Matt and myself, and it was one of the first episode, Malevolence Rising, and all of those in the first season. And so he said, Gandalf, think Gandalf, Ian McKellen, and I said, okay.
So I started with a British accent, and I did it. So when you go into the studio and you hear me doing Plo Koon, he starts right about here. And then Matthew Wood and David Acord, the sound geniuses at Lucasfilm, take my voice and they put it through a processor. And then they give it a little processing and they pitch it down. So Plo Koon becomes more of this character right here.
So I've got a cup in my hand that I'm literally using right now to just kind of help create it. But so he is processed a bit, but so
Plo Koon and his normal response is just basically Gandalf. It's just me doing Ian McKellen's voice. So that's how it starts. Yeah.
That's incredible. Just the fact that you did that just then. But watching the Clone Wars, from day one for me has always been something that I look forward to each week, and it became a part of my life. I can't imagine what it was like for you all working on it and letting it become a part of your lives. I mean, what was your initial reaction when you found out it was canceled or going to be canceled?
Oh, yeah. No, I had just gotten back. I was doing a USO tour in Japan, where I was doing my show for the troops and their families, and I was at LAX getting my bags, and I got a phone call from Dave Filoni and Carrie Silver, our producer, and it was devastating. It was one of those days where you're just like, just finding out that you've come to the end of a book that you didn't expect to end so quickly, or it was just something we had planned on doing for at least another 2 years. So it was a bummer. It was, I won't lie. And of course, enough time has passed to where it's like people understand that, yeah, that's a show that you just comes along once in a blue moon. And so I remember all of us being just very bummed out about that. And so hopefully, people love it on Netflix. I don't know. There's been so many great folks, kind fans getting out there and saying, save the Clone Wars and such. But you never know. It'd be great if they still release things like they did with those animatics and things too, because I think people love the show. I'd love to see like a movie again. I'd love to see us do a movie or something.
Yeah, the Clone Wars will always be a part of our lives. I mean, you've touched so many kids and adults and just TV watchers in general. It's definitely a show that's not like other shows. It really stands out. There's just so much in it that you can fall in love with, and that's why I feel like a lot of fans have fallen in love with it. But yeah, like, just thank you so much for working on the Clone Wars and just doing everything you did there. That was an amazing process. But do you have any advice you'd like to give to anyone looking to get into the voiceover industry?
Well, I always like to tell people to be ready for rejection, because there's lots of rejection. There's lots of rejection in acting in general, writing, directing, any of that stuff. But also, on the positive, is always love it. I have always loved what I do, and every time I'm on a microphone, even right now, talking to all of you, I'm in my studio on a microphone with headphones on. This is where I'm comfortable, and so I say a little prayer of thanks. So be thankful for it, for every opportunity you get. Read out loud wherever you can. If you can, get comic books and read them out, and if you're reading a book, read it out loud when you're alone and stuff, and be ready. Keep your voice in good shape. Get Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt, his wife Tara Platt's book, Voiceover, Voice Actor, and go to voiceovervoiceactor.com. They have some amazing pieces in that, and bits of information and advice and help for people that want to become voice actors. And so it's very cool. So I would suggest that. I also know that D. Bradley Baker, our clones on the Clone Wars, has a website called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com, and you can go there and you can find out information and such. So study it, know what voice acting is about, because I think a lot of people just kind of go, oh, it's just kind of a quick, easy way to make money, and you just get in a microphone and talk. That's the farthest thing from the truth. It's a craft, it's an art form, and it's not an easy thing to do, and it's certainly not an easy thing to get into. It's a small group of people that do most of the work. So, love it, and it will hopefully love you back. That's my biggest piece of advice I can give.
All right. Well, thank you so much, James, for answering my questions. I really appreciate you taking the time for that. I'm going to go ahead and turn you over to our other co-host, Gab.
Hello.
Hey, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. So, okay. So my first question, I think you answered it twice. So I'm going to reformulate it in a way in the hopes that we might get a different answer. Amongst all the, amazing voice actors on the Clone Wars, but more specifically, more like the one-off voice actors, for example, like Dave Filoni and stuff like that, which are the ones you actually have the fondest memories with, throughout all the 8 years of working on the Clone Wars?
Oh, well, really blessed to work with people like Corey Burton and Jim Cummings. So these guys are greats and some of my heroes, and now I'm blessed to be able to call them my friends. But watching them work, watching, for example, Jim Cummings take a character like Hondo, who was really just supposed to be kind of a villain in 1 or 2 episodes, kind of a one-off, and take it and turn it into such a character that everybody loved it so much that, now he's known in this world of Clone Wars as a regular character. So I think that's pretty remarkable, pretty awesome. And then like Corey doing things like Zero and Cad Bane, and yet he's also Count Dooku. So watching the greats like them work, Phil Lamar, who's just a wonderful voice actor, all these guys getting to just come in and be on our show was really just fantastic stuff. I don't know. There's too many favorites. There's really too many favorites.
From a voice actor's point of view, which is more fun to voice as, heroes or villains?
It's funny. I've always been the hero voice. Like, I started my career as that kind of, because I have that sound, and that's my natural voice. But it's been so great throughout my career, especially of recent. Like, for example, the leader on Hulk and the Agents of Smash. I got to be the leader.
The leader, I will get you, Hulk, and your agents of Smash.
Getting to be that bad guy or go, as I was doing earlier, pretty great, pretty fun stuff. These characters that are ones that most people would not guess are me. It's fun to be the bad guy. I always end up being one of the main heroes in something, which again, that's a good problem to have. I'm not complaining about it. I'm blessed to do it. But it is fun to get like kind of that little side character on a show where you're just a big bad guy and nobody expects that it's you. That's pretty fun. So they're both very fun, but yeah, I won't lie. It's fun to be the bad guy sometimes.
I sort of always saw, voicing villains as just an excuse to get, let yourself loose a little bit, just have fun being a bit over the top. I love villains like that.
Absolutely. It's great. You get to just take it in places that you wouldn't get to as a hero. So yeah, it's very cool.
And speaking of villains, Osi Sobeck is definitely one of my favourite characters you voiced in the Clone Wars.
Thanks.
So, I don't know, what advice would you give to anyone who actually wants to impersonate Christopher Walken, since that's who you based him off?
Yeah, he's kind of he's a combo of Christopher Walken meets Al Pacino.
Christopher Walken's voice is, one of those things where it has a life of its own. He goes in places you wouldn't expect. So
you want to take your sentences and completely throw out all the punctuation and start there
and find places to pause where you wouldn't normally.
And then he's got a little rasp to his voice. He's got a little, gravel to it, but it also kind of, it goes up in places, but then he gets down here. Sometimes, he's all over the place. So it's just fun. He's a fun voice to do. I would say just listen to him, have fun with it, and you can kind of do no wrong if you're doing that. But yeah,
Osi Sobeck was you take a little Al Pacino, hoo-ha, and a little Christopher Walken, and you get Osi Sobeck, your Jedi resolve is no match for me.
I loved the line Obi-Wan had is, I must say,
you're not at all like I pictured. Someone with such a soft voice.
So it was fun that they put that in there, knowing that I was the one doing both of the characters. It was great. Now, in that episode, or those arcs, I was doing Obi-Wan
and Master Plo Koon and Osi Sobeck,
all talking at the same time, one after the other. And so it was great fun to switch around like that.
That must be so strange having a conversation with yourself.
I do it all the time.
So you actually did. So I was going to personally request that you do a bit more of Osi Sobeck, but you've already done it. So saves me the effort. Saves me the effort.
Sure.
So with all the celebrities you've also done, is there any particular celebrity you would actually love to get the chance to impersonate in any project?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. Gosh, I've got to do so many of them. I don't know if I've ever. I love doing Gilbert Gottfried's voice.
Gilbert Gottfried, he's just right there. Everything is so, loud and obnoxious. And
I don't think I've ever actually done him officially for anything, so that would be fun to do. But who else? Gosh, I don't know. I've been really fortunate to get to do so many people's voices regularly. Yeah, because most of them I work on them for a reason. Like I'll hear them and then I end up like being them for the day too. So if I'm doing Jay Baruchel's voice, I'll end up kind of talking like him the rest of the day. Okay, all right, and so. They're all fun to do. There's not many that I haven't got to do. So that's a good question, though. I'll have to think about it more.
I was going to say, it's great to get in character, but they're not characters.
They're actual people. That's the crazy part about them. Right? It's fun that they have something that they have a bit of a tooth to them that you can dig into and you can find these things in their voices to latch onto and do. It's pretty cool.
I was also going to say that I think one of my favourite impressions you did, aside from Christopher Walken, I really liked your Jack Sparrow impression in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, thank you.
That was definitely one of my favourites.
Johnny Depp's voice, yes, he's got a very quiet voice, so everything he says is all right in there. But then if you take it and you make a Jack Sparrow, Black Pearl, come on, when does it make sale? Yeah, mate, it's all everything is big and it's all right there.
And he's all over the place with the accent, which is fun too. So it's a great character to get to do. I got to do him for several different things, and then I lost my voice when I got sick, and I lost the job, and so now there's somebody else doing it. I still do his voice for many other things, which has been great, like Alice in Wonderland and Willy Wonka, and then just like his regular voice if he's not available for it.
I'll come in and do his regular voice.
Well, that's great. So my last question, I'm actually sort of saying this on behalf of a lot of Lego fans. Did you know anything about Bionicle before you got the role as Berix in the Legend Reborn?
I knew enough to be dangerous. No, I knew that it was a very big fan base and that people love these characters. And so I was really thrilled that people were happy with my version of it. And that was pretty cool, I think. The fact that people were respectful of what I did or that they liked it, I thought that was pretty cool. So I knew it was a big thing to step into, and I enjoyed it fully all the way. I wish they would do some more of them that Berix was in.
I definitely agree. I sort of always felt, it's such a big franchise, they should have at least made a TV show at some point.
Yeah.
That was my last question. So thanks very much for answering my questions. I'll let Adam speak now.
No, I was just going to say...
a real pleasure to get to speak to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate that, man.
We'll jump right into the questions. If you could voice any other character in the Star Wars galaxy, who would it be and why?
Uncle Owen. There's a character that just wasn't explored enough. I don't know. I love voicing Obi-Wan so much. Maybe Old Ben would be fun, I think. Taking a crack at Old Ben Kenobi, I think, would be a lot of fun. There are too many characters, really, that are just great characters. And I joke a bit about Uncle Owen, but at the same time, I do think that if that was ever explored, it's like, I'd love to do a character like that nobody would expect me to be doing. Yeah, who knows what the next generation of Star Wars is going to bring, too. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of characters that I'll be like, oh, boy, I'd love to take a crack at that. So, yeah, we'll see what comes up. I think that, Luke would certainly be a fun one. Mark Hamill is a great friend, and he's often said that I remind him of him at times vocally, and so that would be a fun one to take a crack at. But Bob Bergen does a tremendous job voicing Luke. Bob is, of course, the voice of Porky Pig and many other characters, but so it's pretty cool. But
obviously with Disney buying Lucasfilm and by extension Star Wars, and there's new material coming out, is there any film that you would like to see Lucasfilm make, like any of the, like a spin-off film? Or
not Uncle Owen, that would be boring. I'm excited about the possibilities of them doing a Boba Fett one. I think that would be pretty cool. I would love to see a spin-off of Princess Leia's life before A New Hope, maybe. It'd be interesting to see, what all was going on there. I think that there's a lot of other great, of course, there was the book Kenobi, which talked about what Obi-Wan was doing there, sitting on that desert planet. But there's so many great characters to be involved. But I mean, I try to go for more of obscure ones like that. Like I say, a Princess Leia story certainly would be interesting for women. I love that they work in some great characters like that. I'd love to see Ahsoka have a spin-off film too, quite frankly.
That would be very interesting. Yeah. My next question would be, have you ever had trouble getting into a certain actor or character's voice before? And if you have, how have you dealt with it?
Oh, yeah. The voices that are closer to my regular voice are the ones that are harder to do. So Ron Howard, for example, I did Ron Howard's voice for some episodes of Arrested Development. And that was tricky. It took a while. Usually I will kind of zone in on a voice and find something, and it took a long time to get it, but because it's really close to my regular voice. So Ron Howard's voice is it's just a little bit different than mine. It's got just a little more twang to it. So it was just finding that place to do and to find those little things that he does. I had to do Tobey Maguire's voice for a trailer for Spider-Man once years ago. And Toby, and I know Toby, it's interesting. His voice is really hard to get because it's just, there's something really unique yet also everyman. So that was a tricky one to get as well. But most of them I can fall into pretty quickly. The ones that are close to me are harder.
When I do impressions and stuff, I do like a tiny bit myself and like talking to like the master of impressions, so you feel a bit inadequate about it. But do you have certain phrases that you say, like when I try and get into a character, there'll be like a sentence or a phrase that I'll say, and that'll immediately kind of like push you into like the mindset of the character.
I find that, and I do find that other voice actors and impersonators certainly have that. I do, from time to time, certain voices, I will jump into a phrase. Certainly people will think, what's up, Doc? And that's how you get into Bugs Bunny. It's if I'm doing Jay Baruchel, I will I'll do that. It's this kind of just noise. if I'm doing Christopher Walken, I hear it in my head. It comes out. It's crazy. I don't know how. And whoa, Michael J. Fox out there. Whoa, wait a second, Doc. Or Doc, whoa, Doc. You know, so there are little sentences and things sometimes that are keys that clue me into it. And I think that's, it's pretty cool. I think that's pretty normal for most impersonators. So yeah, you're in good company.
That's good. My last question, back to the Clone Wars, would be, what were your initial reactions when you found out that Obi-Wan would have a romantic interest? Did you feel that it fit in with the character of Obi-Wan, or did you have reservations?
No, I thought it was really pretty cool. I thought it was a great exploration, not just in the world of that character, but in the world of Star Wars, and to show a little more human side of this character, because especially the younger Obi-Wan, he is all business, you know, and he's really doing his best to train Anakin. So to show that he had that side, there were those moments in his life. I think that was really a cool thing. It was a very cool thing to have them work in. And again, Anna Graves just did a wonderful job as Duchess Satine. And it really gave me so much more to work with. I mean, I've been very blessed to be able to voice and act more Obi-Wan than any other actor. And in some of the most dramatic ones, too. Obviously, Ewan McGregor had the most dramatic with his scene with Anakin in Episode 3, but my Obi-Wan got to do some pretty cool things thanks to that storyline.
Well, that's all my questions. Thank you very much for taking the time to them.
Yes, thank you.
That's all of our questions for you, James. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah, and hopefully we can talk to you again at some point.
Well, I thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions, and thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
So that was our interview with voice actor James Arnold Taylor. So you're all ready to wrap up.
Alrighty.
So make sure to check out our YouTube channels. The podcast is www.youtube.com/everythinggeekcast. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/Separatist Laurent's is www.youtube.com/user/StarLegend9595. Gab's is www.youtube.com/user/Gab2671. Check out Adam's Facebook page, www.facebook.com/TheGamerStrikesBack. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check out James Arnold Taylor's website, www.jamesarnoldtaylor.com. And check out Channel 113, where we broadcast live from, www.channel113.com. So, geeks out, everyone.
Geeks out.
Bye.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm